So I did a poll 10 days ago where 50 people participated, and it was 72 to 28. So 50 people voted, and more people believed that it was foul play. Now, after the findings, remember when they said that Betsy passed away of her Hunter virus, and Gene was left wandering around for a few days until he died. So that was supposed to be our findings, that we were left with that. Now, 54 people say that something still didn't sit right with them. 38 people said that the conclusion made sense, and 8 people still don't like the children, okay? Now, I was thinking it was odd to me. It still was odd, but at the moment, I was like, okay, well, I guess it makes sense. Maybe he died of a heart attack after finding Betsy deceased, but he didn't really even recollect that she was deceased because he has Alzheimer's. So I believed, because I dealt with Alzheimer's patients throughout, the over a decade that I had to, take care of them. I was thinking maybe he had a moment of clarity, and that's when he had on his jacket, his sunglasses, and his cane, and he was heading out to go get her some help, and then he fell. I had to put this scenario in my head so it can end, if that makes any sense. And I think a lot of people probably did that too. But I did kind of think that before all these scenarios and all these situations happened, that Gene Hackman had left his fortune to his wife Betsy. I really did. I thought that he left all of it to them. It just felt that way. It just felt that way, and a lot of people were commenting that he was, mean, and didn't give the children anything. And when you get older, I'm an older person, and when you get older, you realize that sometimes you don't have to leave your children's shit. I used to think back in the day that Mommy Dearest was, yeah, she shouldn't have beat the hell out of Christina. Yeah, that was kind of ill. But she left them, like, I think $1 each or something like that, and they had to use it with the lawyer's help. She did some foul shit, she really did, but that was her money. She earned it, and yeah, it was foul that she did that. Still, it was her money. And maybe that's how Gene Hackman felt. Maybe he's seen his kids not doing anything, just trying to get handouts and mooch over him. We don't know. Something happened to where he just felt some type of way. He felt guarded with the money that he had, that he worked so hard for. Now, I do know that his wife, and I really didn't get into it because I don't feel it's no need to, but his wife, Faye Maltese, she passed away in April 26, 2017. And before, she died, they had already been divorced. But before they were divorced, they were separated for a very long time. And the reason why they divorced, it was because of his acting career. I'm just going to put it out there. I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is false. I didn't even really look into it. But let's just say while he was acting, he stayed away a lot. That's common. And let's say while he was staying away, he was being unfaithful to his wife. It happens a lot. It happens, and these men are not even actors, and it happens. So she just, was tired of it, and she divorced him. And sometimes the kids feel some type of way then. Dad hurt mom, and then she passes away. And then sometime later he meets Betsy, and this is who he's gonna be with. And he loves Betsy, and he gets married to Betsy. And the kids are still feeling some type of way because maybe he's not giving them what they ask for. I do think one of the daughters, it might be the oldest daughter, they say that she has a good career going. I didn't really read too much about the second one. I know Christopher Hackman, the oldest sibling and the only son, I know he tried to give acting a chance. He has like 3 different movies out there. I think his father might be in one of them, to my knowledge now. And those movies didn't take off, I think, the way he wanted to. His acting career didn't take off the way he wanted to. So that's not something that he did. And again, I don't think Betsy has any children. at all. She considered her fur babies, her kids, and her and Jean had fur babies together. So Betsy, she was the sole beneficiary of everything. She got everything since 1995. Christopher, Leslie, and Elizabeth, they're not named in the will at all. They get nothing, nothing at all. No houses, no furniture. I heard he's an artist. They don't get none of his art. They get nothing. He didn't want them to have anything. And I don't know when he did his will, but I'm pretty sure he was of sound mind when he did his will, and he didn't feel like that. He didn't feel like he wanted them to have anything. It makes sense. At all. This is why the couple lay dead in that house for so long, for what they said, a week, 9 days to 2 weeks, and no one checked on them and no one called because they weren't talking to their father. They weren't in communication with their father. That is why they had no idea that this happened. They were not in their dad's life. So, unless they did something to him, they did not know that he was dead. And right there, that's where I just draw the line. Because now, since I heard the will, I'm back on to thinking that something stinks in Santa Fe. I really do think that. I was thinking that, okay, this is how they died and that's it. But after reading the will, something is just not right, okay? It's just not right. Something's funky in Santa Fe. It's just not right. The timing of their deaths could change everything. Now, allegedly, Jean passed away. Second, says his heart monitor. I believe it was February 17th, and Betsy died earlier. He lived up to 1 week or so, a little bit over a week, and Betsy's dead body was in the house. We did not know that she had Hunter virus. They say it's a rare but fatal virus that you can get from, the saliva and urine of rodents. And she ended up somehow getting that. And we did not know, or at least I did not know, I don't think it was told publicly, that Gene Hackman had Alzheimer's. So we didn't know that until they did these press conferences and said what the couple had. We didn't know that. That is why when she was deceased for those days, that is why Jean was just wandering around. So in the will, if Betsy was to have died before Jean, they didn't think that because, it was 30 plus years that Jean had over Betsy. So they just thought that he would naturally, die before her. But if Betsy was to die first, all her assets would go to Jean. But there was a provision that said if they die within 90 days of each other, now that was strange to me, if they die within 90 days of each other, that it would be considered a simultaneous death. And that if that was the case, her assets would go to charity. That means everything combined. Her assets along with Jean's assets would all go to charity. And it's believed that there was no prenup. And I hope they don't try to magically produce a prenup, because even if there is one, he already said she gets everything. So again, the kids get nothing. The kids get nothing. The Hackman offspring isn't supposed to get a dime. But the oldest sibling, Chris, he contacted the prominent California trust estate attorney by the name of Andrew M. Katzenstein, okay? And he is now contesting the will. So he believes he's entitled to something. And it doesn't mean that the sisters aren't behind it. He may be the one that's just going to put the ball into motion. Because if he gets something naturally, the sisters are going to get something. So even though, pretty much Jean didn't want them to have anything. He didn't want them to have anything. And Betsy, if she was to pass, she wanted all her stuff to go to charities that I guess she selected. So he's going to contest it. So in other words, that means that you're going against what they wanted while they were living. And that's what happens when people die. I know through my own family, when people die, People get very greedy. They get very money hungry. They don't care. I don't talk to certain people in my family now because they acted just like that, upon the death of my mother, which is a sad thing. But it is. People will act just crazy. They totally flip the script and they change upon someone's death to see what they have left, It is terrible. So, but this circumstance is a little bit different because it's siblings that weren't left anything, So there you go. And I'm sure we're going to continue to hear more about this case, more about this situation. I personally think, I know everything's supposed to go to the next air, but it's not what they wanted. And who's to say for sure if that was the scenario of how they died? It's all assumptions. They said based on the pacemaker. I don't know. But I think you should honor somebody's wishes when they have passed away. I don't think you should change it. But it's money. And, money talks. Money talks.